Hey guys, this is Kieran from Eccentric Physio, and today we're looking at building some hip extension. So we're trying to use the muscles that extend the hip as put the leg behind you. We're trying to teach those muscles how to do that again. So this is more of an entry-level exercise, but if you think you're at a higher level, I'd recommend just trying this out anyway to see if you can do the double leg against single leg versions, because you might find that actually one side has a bit of trouble. So hip extension is the ability for my femur to go behind my torso. My torso being here, my femur being this leg bone here, and it can go behind me. Now, hip extension can also be from this position where I'm in a flex position, my femur's in front of me, and I initiate the movement of going in the direction to go behind me. That's also hip extension. So you might do, say, like stepping up onto a box, and you may only go to this neutral position, but you've still hip extended to get there. The femur's moved backwards. So when we're on 2 feet, that requires a lot more stability, particularly if we're on one leg. One of the ways we can reduce the demands or regress the exercise is by doing it on the ground. And 2 legs to start with, that's a bigger base of support, and then we move to a single leg version that's harder. For the single leg version, it requires a lot more awareness of what your torso is doing. We've got other exercises kind of around our lower back month, or lower back and torso, which might sort of help you figure out what those limitations are. So if you can't balance, I would go back to those exercises and those articles and see if you can make sense of what's going on. To start with though, if I lay on my back and I think about legs being a comfortable width. For me, for you, it could be the length of maybe the width of your 2 fists. It could be wider than that. Just start with what's comfortable. And then just try and lift your hips off the ground. So we could get into a lot of nuances here, but at the moment, I reckon it's just better get used to what you're trying to do, and that's just to get your hips off the ground. So think about your belt line, trying to touch up the sky there, and don't worry too much about the intricacies of what's going on, okay? So you lift up and down, okay? Now, I'm going not fully into full hip extension. I could go further, but the further I go, now I'm getting into lumbar extension as well. And that's normal, it's part of that movement, they're coupled together. But for now, I'm just worrying about where do I go? Do I maybe start feel some restriction in the front of the hip? Or maybe I just feel like if I have to go further, then I have to arch my back. And at the moment, we're just staying away from the back arch for the purposes of this exercise. There's nothing wrong with going past that though, if you want to build some lumbar extension into it, which is a very reasonable thing to do. But we've got some exercises which maybe are a little more helpful for that, because they're a little more one-legged, which tends to be when we do that movement. So double leg, not so much of an issue. As soon as you feel like you can get up and down, then try the single leg version. Now the difference with the single leg version, if I show you from the side here, is to bias my glutes, I want to go into a little bit of abduction out here, okay? So if I looked over here, I can see my heel. If I was more here, I'd probably be a little more biased to my hamstrings, just based on fiber orientation. So if I come a little bit out to here, I can see my heel. This leg's gonna come up to here, and I'm gonna use this hand over here to try and push down so that I have a balance point with this elbow and this foot pushing down into the ground. This right hand and left knee are gonna push together softly so that I've got some counter rotation up here. And this might be where you start. Eventually you won't need all this assistance. So if I'm in here, I'm gonna try and lift and then back down. The hard part is not letting the hips swing over to the foot and bias the hamstrings. So you're trying to go up, and down, okay? From the other side, very similar. I'm out here, I can see my heel, I brace through my midsection, and I go up, down, okay? From the side, looks like this. Over here, you'll probably notice I don't get into as much hip extension. Going into here, elbows down, and I lift up, and I'm getting about that much movement. We don't have to get all the way up into here. Again, that just biases some other muscles and asks things of a movement that we're just not trying to train right now. I just want to train some hip extension, okay? So here, contact, a little bit of pressure. I'm squishing something here. Elbows pushing down into the ground. And I lift up. I'm trying to still breathe, talk. I'm trying to not tense my neck too much. My neck doesn't have to help out. And you're trying also not to fall and rotate. So from this side, it would look like I'm going up and I'm not falling down, I'm controlling my torso. If you find that's hard, look for our marching bridges exercise video, and that'll help you learn to stabilize your torso a little bit. Great exercise. It's humbling, particularly the single leg version. A lot of people that struggle with, say, lunges, squats, stairs, sprinting would take care to just give these single leg versions a go and see if you can build a symmetry or getting the same side to side. So give these a go, and then when you're ready, you can move on to some of the harder versions. If you like this video, then please hit like below. Otherwise, to check out more of our content in the future, you can subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo over here. And to check out our latest video, click up here.